the finishing position is defined as legs straight, arms up. Arms up to me would be defined above your head. Legs straight is legs straight. It doesn't mention heels together in this definition because that is a separate deduction and has nothing to do with this deduction. So legs straight, arms up. Many of us, and I did want to definitely discuss this. I know that we have talked for at least 3 years about the correct landing position is the squat with the arms in front, the legs bent at a certain angle. That is still the case. We're not asking you to land with straight legs. You should still land in the proper landing position, and that still will receive no deduction for landing in that proper landing position. But to finish, you must pull up, be controlled enough to pull up out of that position with your legs straight and your arms overhead.
Hey, Jay, I'm going to throw a quick question at you while you're ready. Just arms up, like above your head, right? Is it straight up? Is it a little, like, is it just above horizontal? How picky is that going to be?
Definitely above horizontal. I said above your head. So I would say if your arms are above your head, anywhere above your head. Horizontal, I think, would be below head. It would be shoulder height. So I would go for above your head, like straight up, I would say, if you can, just to make it an uncontested hold. One of the biggest changes from the definition that's in the modifications, it's not a change, but a clarification, is noting that it must be the direction in which you landed. For example, if you do a 1.5 vaults, you hold the landing position facing forward away from the table for 1 second, legs straight, arms up, then that is correct. If you land your 1.5 and you quarter turn to hold, that is not correct. So it has to be in the direction. If you do a double Arabian off bars, it has to be forward. If you do a double tuck off bars, it has to be backward. You have to finish in the direction in which you landed. Now, someone I know is thinking to themselves, my gymnast is supposed to do a double full off beam, but sometimes she's 1 3/4. Is she supposed to stay at 3/4 where she lands? Well, of course not. She would intended to be forward. So she would finish forward as she would have intended to do. Because yes, short twisting can happen. Those things can happen. But I think like one of the biggest things to note is that it must be held facing the directions in which they landed. Secondly, if you look at this, this is directly from the newsletter. It has a lot of questions and answers. And we tried to hit many scenarios. So a lot of the questions more have to do with what if you take 2 steps forward or 3 steps forward? Do you still have to stop and hold? Yes, you do. Do you have to go back to where you landed and hold? No, you do not. Common sense kind of needs to click in there. You finish where you finished your steps, in the direction in which you landed, hold for 1. A lot of people might say, what is 1 second? And that's a great question. I'm from Minnesota. So for me, 1 second is 1 Mississippi, because that's just what we said. What I've been telling my athletes is 1 gymnastics, 2 gymnastics, if you can, just for them to be certain. In this video, there are a couple that are really close, but I would say not quite there. And we'll discuss that as we go. And I will note a lot of these women, had they known this rule, probably could have met it, but they did not because they were working under a different set of rules. Some could not have met it, and you can tell they're not in control.
No, she stopped, but she didn't hold it 1 second before she turned to salute.
She turned her upper torso and then she didn't hold.
Yes. Okay. And some of them, you'll see that they're definitely holding their landing position, but they're not showing their finish position. So here's number 2. So that cut off kind of quickly, but we felt that she was doing her stretch, but it wasn't there long enough. So we still took the 05. Number 3. Nope, we didn't give that either because she didn't stay there. She got there, but she didn't stay there. So again, she got there, but she didn't stay there long enough. 1 Mississippi, 1 gymnastics. And that was a no. Exciting, but no. That was a good example of the girl that landed in the squat. She held that position, but she didn't hold the finish. So had these girls known, I'm sure they would have fixed these, but it'll be different this year. This one we felt was there. So let's look at it again. She did stop. So we did not deduct that one. Or that one. We felt they were pretty clear that they held it for a second. That one was very close, but we did not give it because we felt like it wasn't clear that it was there. So we took the 05. Almost.
I think we got to 1 gym, not 1 gymnastics.
And again, not quite. And she didn't either. So those were the examples that are very typical, but I'm sure that we will be adjusting. Oh, you saw how many of those athletes landed in control, but then they didn't show the finish position, which is what the new part is. KJ, any comments?
Yes, so one thing for the coaches, I guess we'll call it the college finish with the giant arch, that's probably definitely something you're gonna go away from just because you could teeter on that and maybe not hold it long enough. I have a question for the judges. If you pulled up and held 1,000, 2, 1,000, let's say, a long time, and then you clap, then you pump your fist, that's fine, correct?
Correct. That's
Yeah.
fine.
We want those things to still happen, and this is not intended for excitement or any of that to go away, but it can happen after it's clearly been held, and they aren't required to turn to salute to you following the routine. So once they've held that for that period of time, they can cheer, they can run away, they can run to the bathroom.
Yes, they just have to hold it after they land in the finish position. So it's
Yes.
not the landing position, it's the finish position.
Yes.
Linda and KJ, we do have a couple of questions. One of the gymnasts in the videos, she was very close to holding for 1 second, but as part of her 1 second, she kind of pumped her fists and elbows in a celebration move. And my understanding is that would mean that the deduction would apply unless she held it for the 1 second before she did that pumping of her arms. Is that correct?
Yes.
If she holds the finish for 1 second and then the athlete throws her head back, does the 1 second hold start again?
No.
No.
Once she's done it.
All right. And will they get a deduction if they still turn and salute the judge after they've finished the 1 second hold?
No.
Okay. And then here's a comment and a question. Technically, though, an athlete could pump their fist as they're raising their arms and then hold for maybe 2 seconds and not receive a deduction, correct?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they can't move their feet if they move their feet while they're pumping their fists, or if it's a balance error. I mean, if it's a balance error, it's a balance error. All deductions and errors will be taken up to the point of them showing the finish. So if you want to risk pumping your fists and possibly going off balance, you know, that I'm just saying that could happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, I guess they could, but they can get deducted all the way up until the finish is complete.
Can your head be back during the 1 second hold? As long as you keep your balance.
Yeah.
Okay. And another one, if the gymnast finishes with her head back and overextended, but doesn't hold, then she comes back to a straight vertical position and holds for the count, the 1 second count, without moving her feet. Is there a deduction?
If her feet don't move and her head goes back and then she pulls forward and holds, and she doesn't move her feet or her hips or any other part of her body, then it's fine.
This one is, are we supposed to hold the actual landing position and the arms above the head for 1 second?
No.
No,